Yeah. Today we are going to see the 2.59 shloka. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Translation: though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, this taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement, experiencing a high state, he is fixed in consciousness. This is a very nice sloka. I would like to ask some Matajis and Prabhus to just recite, take turns and recite at least once or twice. Any Mataji would volunteer for
Hare
reading that?
Krishna Mataji,
Yeah, Mataji, please go
Bhagavad
ahead and
Gita
read.
2.59 Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense enjoyment remains. But, ceasing such enjoyments by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Swati Mataji, can you read it? Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Bhagavad
Yeah.
Gita 2.59 Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Shall I read translation, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains, but the ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Suresh Prabhu, can you read it? Any Prabhujis? Because I see only Suresh Prabhu name here. So, Prabhuji, can you read it? Do you want to read? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So here we're talking about Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna is the person who is able to control his senses, right? From sense objects. He is like, he controls his senses like an tortoise who just get backs the limbs when he doesn't want, and then the tortoise will just pull the limbs out again when he wants it, right? So sthita prajna is compared like that. He will restrain, he will control his senses from the sense object. So this sthita prajna restricts its senses like a tortoise, but restricting the senses are not easy. So how is he doing that, right? How is he restricting his senses? That is what Krishna is telling. And Arjuna's third question to Krishna is also that. Like, how is that Sthita Prajna able to control his senses? So, Krishna is answering here in this shloka. Vishaya vinivartante and niraharasya dehina. Dehina, the embodied soul. We are not the body, we are spirit soul. But the spirit soul, we, is embodied, right? Is inside the body. So we are the embodied soul, right? So what happens? We, the embodied soul, we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. What happens? Rasavarjam rasopyaha niraharasya, they say, may try to niraharasya, this embodied soul may try to restrict the senses, but what happens? Rasavarjam rasopyasya, appears here. Rasavarjam, the taste for the sense of objects which the embodied soul had, right? The taste it already had in the previous janmas. So whatever the taste it had, like he cannot forget that. That's what rasavarjam, the taste is he's not able to forget. And then what happens? Param drishtva. So how are they coming out? How are they able to like restrict all the senses? What does the siddha prajna do to restrict its senses on top of having the taste of sense objects? So that's what here the key word from this shloka is param drishtva. So when a person has the higher taste, then he forgets all the lower material taste, like the sense enjoyment and those things. So the param drishtva is the key. By experiencing the higher taste, such a person, what happens to him? He is fixed in his consciousness. So that's what here Krishna tells, the higher taste. When the higher taste is attained, then everything is automatically in place. Then it is easy to control the senses. As sadhakas, as practitioners, right? We are in the beginning stage. So as sadhakas, this is very important for us because there are so many times, there are so many days for us where we wanted to practice, but at the same we wanted to practice Krishna consciousness, but at the same time there are so many other things, other disturbances which are coming because of the sense objects and those things which are pulling us back from being Krishna consciousness. So, what are we supposed to do? The current state of us, everyone, Prabhupada says that we are in diseased condition. That's what Prabhupada refers. The current state of us, we are in the diseased condition. So what happens to the patient? For example, let us just take a diabetic patient, right? The person, he's not supposed to eat any sugar or anything which increases his diabetic level. So the doctor has advised him no sugar, no white substance, white things, anything, right? So the doctor has said that, but what happens to the person? He restricts, he tries to restrict himself, not eating that. He will not like the restrictions what the doctor has put on him. Don't eat that, don't eat this, do that, don't do this. That person, the diseased person, he will neither like the restrictions which the doctor has put, nor what, like he cannot even go and take that, right? So here Prabhupada says the patient however neither likes such restriction nor loses, yeah, nor he loses the taste of that particular thing what he wants and what he is restricted from. He already has tasted what it is, so he cannot even lose the interest on that, and he doesn't want to even listen to the doctor what he has said. So that is the condition of the deceased person. So Prabhupada says that we are all in the same condition. The diabetic person, what happens? The doctor has told him don't eat any sugar substance or sugary food items, whatever it is. But this person, like he restricts himself like forcefully, mechanically. And when he goes to a party or to a puja or anything, like there are lots of different varieties of food arranged, and he sees a gulab jamun or very favorite sweet of his. So what will he do? Immediately he will just like go there, and he will not even limit himself for one or two. He'll just grab, he'll be very greedy because he's been restricted, right? So he was controlling all the time, and the moment when he sees the gulab jamun or rasagulla or whatever it is, which previously he knows what that tastes like, right? So when he sees that, automatically he wanted to grab as much as he wants and to enjoy it. That is the state of a diseased person where Prabhupada refers all of us to. So the mind is overtaking, right? That should not be the thing. So what is the permanent solution? We don't want any temporary solution. Okay, just listen to today, tomorrow it is okay, maybe after some time it is okay. It's not like that. We need a permanent solution for every one of us, like as sadhakas. Every day is different. Like one day we will be very much into Krishna conscious, and one day some things will be pulling us, right? Like the materialistic way of life and the sense enjoyments and whatever it is. So like, what is the permanent solution for all these things to keep us keep going in the bhakti, not even stopping one day, not even looking back, so not even falling down a little bit? What is the permanent solution? We all wanted to look for the permanent solution. That's what Krishna gives us here. Param drishtva. So the diseased person who wanted to eat the gulab jamun, which he already knows the taste, if he knows there is a higher taste than that gulab jamun, something, for example, there is some higher taste, and when he knows the higher taste, then he is not going to go back to that gulab jamun, right? He doesn't care also. So that's how it is. We need that param drishtva. Prabhupada also says very nicely about this. The taste, yeah. But one who has tasted the beauty of Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. So the person who's progressing in Krishna consciousness, when specifically he understands, he just comes to know about the beauty of Krishna, then he will never look back to any of the lower materialistic attractions, whatever he's going to face. So in Brahma Samhita also, Brahma says, right, Venum kvananta aravinda dalayataksam barhavatam tamasitam buddha sundarangam kandarpakoti kamaniya vishesha shobham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Right, like Brahma says, I worship Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, and he describes how beautiful Krishna is looking. Venum Kvanandam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham. So he's having a flute in his hand. Venum. Krishna is having a flute in his hand beautifully, and how nicely he just plays the flute. And that sound which comes from Krishna's flute when he plays is mesmerizing, And Aravinda Dalaya Taksham, his eyes are like the fresh bloomed lotus petals. So that beautiful, that soft it is, and whoever takes a moment glance, they are just that's it. They have to, that is the higher taste. They have to forget everything. And then Brahma continues here. Barhavatam tamasitam buddha sundarangam. He has a peacock in his turban, right? Like on top of his turban, Krishna has a peacock, and how beautiful it looks like. Actually, because of peacock, it's not Krishna who gets the beauty. Because of Krishna, the peacock feather gets the beauty. So he has a very beautiful peacock feather on his turban, which adds the beauty. He says, and Kandar, this is very important. Kandarpa koti kamaniya vishesha shobham. Kandarpa koti, the cupids, right? The cupids who they are kamaniya, they are charming, the charming beauty. It is not one or two or thousands, it is koti kandarpas. That koti kandarpas vishesha shobham, they are mesmerized, they are fallen by seeing Krishna's beauty. That is the beauty of Krishna. So wow, a person who knows this definitely will not look back to any of his sense enjoyment, sensual activities. So that is how one can restrict his senses. So this is how it is. Like they have another thing also been I have been hearing that in some of the pravachans, the Cupid is Kamadeva, right? Like he is like he charms. He's a beautiful personality, and what happens is like he's waiting on a tree to just like throw his arrow on Krishna. He's waiting there, and Krishna at a moment he just turns and takes a glance at this Cupid, and the Cupid falls down from the branch of the tree. He himself like he fall for Krishna's beauty. So we can imagine the Cupid also falls for Krishna's beauty. It is not one Cupid, it is koti Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. That is the beauty of Krishna. So, and Krishna is also called Madana Mohan, right? Madan is Cupid. Cupid's name is Madan. So, Cupid also fall for Krishna, right? Krishna, he made Madan to fall for him. That's why Madana Mohana. Krishna is also called Madana Mohan. So that is the beauty of Krishna. When one keeps chanting on that, and when one keeps meditating on that, that is the higher taste. Krishna is telling Arjuna here, Param Drishtva. When one gets to the taste of that, then anything is like it doesn't matter for in that order, like everything looks a junk for that person. And how beautiful is Krishna. I wanted to bring this point also. Alvars of South India, right? We have 12 Alvars. So they glorify the Supreme Lord very nicely. And the Supreme Lord is so like he's moved by Alvar's poems and those things. In that, Peri Alvar sings, he is like he saw the Lord coming down in his Garuda with Shankha Chakram and Mahalakshmi. He's just coming down, and Alvar saw the beauty of the Lord, and he is like so mesmerized by seeing the beauty of the Lord, and he's worried whether like any evil eye is going to fall on Krishna. So he's so worried, and that is the mood of the Alvar, and he starts singing a beautiful hymn called Tirupalland. So in that he glorifies the Lord, and he praises, saying him long live, long live. He just wants to protect the Lord, which he knows that he cannot do it. But look at the mood of the Alvars. He is so worried because that is the beauty of Krishna. That is the beauty of Supreme Lord. He sings Palland Palland Pallai Rattand Palakodi Noorairam Mallanda Tintol Manivanna Un Shevadi Shevi Tirukkapu. He says like long live Palland. First he says in the normal years Palland. Then like you should, like if you have time you should go ahead, later on you should go and try to read the commentary on this Tirupal. And so he just increases the number of period, like the period in celestial years, and he says long live, and all auspiciousness may come to my Supreme Lord. That's how the devotees wanted to show their love for Krishna. That is the beauty of Krishna. So when we are advancing in the path of bhakti, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Like when we are progressing in the path of bhakti, there will be a day where we are attracted completely to the beauty of Krishna. That is Param Drishtva. And that day will come where we are not interested in any of the material things. We look that on the lower level and we will never turn back. So we all have to work towards that every day. That doesn't happen overnight, but every day chanting, all devotional service, all these things makes us to progress in Krishna consciousness. And that day will come when we are completely Krishna consciousness, where we don't look at any of the things. So in bhakti we are not artificially, this is not like uh artificially we are controlling the senses, right? Okay, we have to do this, close our eyes, and we have to always think like this. No, we are not trying to do artificially anything here. Artificially doing, how long it will last, right? Anything artificial maybe is few days, but it will not last longer. So bhakti is not anything inculcating artificially. It is a gradual progress, it is a gradual advancement. Fine, when each and every step in bhakti according to the shastras rules and regulation, when we follow that and when we are doing that, automatically the progress we can see, and automatically we'll come to that stage where completely the conscious is fixed. So that is the stage, param drishtva. Why are we having rules and regulations, right? Rules and regulations, here Prabhupada also says that in the purport, rules and regulations are for the neophytes, for the newcomers. Why? Because they have to progress in bhakti, right? So those rules and regulations are really needed. For example, even for our child, our kids also, we just put some rules and regulation, like, see, they have to go to school morning, they have to get up at the school bus comes at around 7 o'clock, they have to get up at 5:30 at least, take shower, do their morning rituals, like go do at least 10-15 minutes of prayers, right? To show your to show your thankfulness, and then eat something for your breakfast, and then go. So if we are not putting the rules and regulation, you have to get up, you have to do these things, like they don't know, they don't know. Even for a newborn child, the child doesn't know. Every time the child is drinking milk and sleeping. So a mother, after a certain time, maybe after few days, then the mother like makes the kid to understand this is night time, you have to sleep more. Then she switches on the light in the morning time, and more bright light is also coming, like she just trains the kid, this is daytime, you cannot sleep, you have to be active. Then the mother makes the kid to play, so she trains. Those are the rules and regulations, something like that. I'm trying to just like so that the understanding will be easy. If we don't have any rules and regulations in the neophyte stage, then we are lost in this material world, because our mind is very very sanchala, right? So rules and regulations are really needed. That is what Prabhupada also said here. Restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of the life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. Until one perfects, right? He becomes completely Krishna consciousness, and then where the stage he sees the rest of the other things other than Krishna consciousness is something not really needed, it's all junk, it is on the lower stage. When that stage comes, when one is actually Krishna conscious, that is the stage, actual Krishna consciousness, he automatically loses his taste for the pale things, pale material things. So every one of us, like chanting, hearing to Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad Gita class, it's all, we are in the progress stage, we are in the progress stage. We have to, our goal is to be completely Krishna consciousness, always like be in Krishna consciousness, sing his pastimes, glorify his beauty, right? Like chant his names, always look for his service. So that day should come for each and every one following this key word, param drishtva. This is a very nice shloka. Each and every one of us, if we have a chance, we have to memorize this also. So thank you, Matajis and Prabhujis. Thank you for this great opportunity. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Matajis. Thank you, Prabhus. Any
Hare Krishna
doubt and
Mataji,
comment?
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.